One cold, dreary evening, about 2 years ago in November, I staggered out of a Chem 1 AO3 midterm and began the long, slow walk from the John Hodgins Engineering Building to my car, parked all the way in Lot M. However, once I reached Lot M, much to my dismay, I realized that that morning, unlike every other morning of the semester, I decided to treat myself and had instead parked my car in the much closer to my original destination, Lot I, and so began the cold, dreary walk from Lot M to Lot I. Now, this unfortunately true story is the result of what is known as proactive memory interference, one half of the memory interference theory of forgetting. And this occurs when an old memory is retained at the expense of a new one. So in this example, this memory of parking Lot I is coming in from short-term memory for consolidation. However, there's all of these other memories that my brain deems more important, and this memory is promptly forgotten about. So proactive memory interference is one half of this theory, and the other half is retroactive memory interference, which is the exact opposite and occurs when a new memory is retained at the expense of an old one. So let's say I meet a friend and they tell me their birthday and my brain deems this to be valuable information. However, when I'm remembering this, some other information might unfortunately fall out of favor. So these two forgetting mechanisms and their presence leads us to an interesting question. Why do we forget? We have these amazing brains made up of 100 billion neurons that can do everything from differential calculus to playing the piano. Yet if I were to ask you what you had for breakfast yesterday, it would probably take you a second. And while I'm sure that we wouldn't consider remembering what we had for breakfast to be an awe-inspiring feat, I think we would all love to have a perfect memory. It would just make our everyday lives so much easier. To never forget an answer on a test or a loved one's birthday would be nothing short of a superpower. Now, I think we all know from personal experience that this isn't exactly how memory works. And the reason this isn't how memory works is because that's not why we have memory at all. Memory is not designed to perfectly capture the past, but rather to help predict the future. For your brain, efficiency is everything. It doesn't care about the minor details of the past that we tend to get so hung up on. The next time I'm looking for my car, 99% of the time it's going to be in Lot M, so why should I bother recording another memory of parking my car? That's just wasted brain space. Imagine how exhausting it would be if every single time you went to look for your keys, you had to sort through every single memory that you've ever had with those keys. Now, Jill Price is a woman who doesn't lose her keys. Diagnosed with hyperthymesia, she can remember every day of her life in clarity since February 5th, 1980. For example, when asked to recall a list of every Easter since that date, it took her less than 10 minutes to come up with a list of not only every single date exactly, but what she was doing on every single one of those days, and these facts were later checked with the journals that she's been meticulously keeping for decades. I think we would all look at somebody like Jill with a certain degree of jealousy. To never forget seems like quite a blessing, quite the superpower. However, Jill doesn't necessarily view it the same way. She has said, quote, "My memory has ruled my life. It's like a running movie that never stops. I only have to experience something one time, and I can be totally scarred by it. I can't let go of things because of my memory. It's part of me. I don't think I would never want to have it, but it's a burden. To never forget is to live in the past. Basic recall becomes overwhelming, a running movie that never stops. Trauma and breakups never fade, and grief becomes almost impossible, as you can remember every moment spent with a past loved one. While Jeopardy contestants and MCAT writers might disagree, forgetting isn't always a bad thing. Forgetting allows us to keep moving forward, even if we're not always moving in the right direction." Thank you.